It was 5:58 p.m. in the Gulf of Aden, and the sun was 40 minutes from the horizon, dropping toward the Djiboutian coast in the specific way that equatorial sunsets happen. Fast, without the lingering twilight of higher latitudes, the light going from gold to orange to gone in the span of minutes. The water was running southwest in the tail of the monsoon. 3-foot swells, light chop, visibility 22 miles. Perfect conditions for a strike mission. Perfect conditions, equally, for the long-range surface search radar of an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye to paint every surface and aerial contact within 300 nautical miles, with the kind of clarity that makes tactical surprise a theoretical concept rather than an operational option. USS Gerald R. Ford CVN-78 had been operating in the Gulf of Aden and the southern Red Sea for 37 days. Carrier Strike Group 12. The Ford was the most advanced aircraft carrier ever built. Electromagnetic launch systems, dual-band radar, 3 times the electrical power generation of the Nimitz class, an island superstructure redesigned for improved aircraft handling efficiency, and a crew of approximately 2,600 sailors operating a platform that represented the full expression of American carrier aviation capability at the opening of the 21st century's third decade. She had been conducting sustained strike operations against Houthi military infrastructure in Yemen for the duration of her deployment. Her air wing flying hundreds of combat sorties against launch sites, storage facilities, command nodes, and the growing inventory of Iranian-supplied weapons that Ansar Allah had been accumulating in the Yemeni highlands. The Houthi leadership had been watching the Ford operate for 37 days. They had been watching American carrier strike groups operate in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden for considerably longer. Long enough to develop a clear understanding of the operational patterns, the transit routes, the predictable rhythms of carrier aviation that any force conducts when it is flying sustained combat operations. The launch cycles, the recovery windows, the periods when the flight deck is most heavily committed and the crew's attention is most focused on the aviation mission rather than the defensive picture. They had been studying, they had been planning, and they had been receiving, through the Iranian Technical Advisory Network embedded with the Houthi military command, the specific operational guidance about timing, sequencing, and salvo architecture that Iranian planners believed gave the attack its best probability of achieving the result that Houthi propaganda had been promising for months. The weapon was the Quds-2, Iran's most advanced land attack and anti-ship cruise missile variant, supplied to the Houthis, an evolution of the Quds-1 that had been employed in previous attacks against Saudi Arabian infrastructure. The Quds-2 incorporates improved navigation, a combination of GPS, terrain contour matching, and optical scene correlation in the terminal phase that gives it significantly better accuracy than its predecessor. Its turbofan sustainer engine provides a range in excess of 1,500 kilometers, sufficient to reach targets throughout the Red Sea from launch sites in the Yemeni interior. The airframe is small, a radar cross-section comparable to a large bird, and it flies at altitudes between 50 and 150 meters in its transit phase, using terrain masking where available and staying below the radar horizon of surface ships for as much of its approach as the geography permits. Against an undefended target, the Quds-2 is a lethal and difficult to intercept weapon. Against the E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, it is a radar contact. The Houthi operational plan called for a simultaneous launch of 24 Quds-2 missiles from 6 sites dispersed across 3 Yemeni provinces. 4 missiles per site, the sites selected for their approach geometry to minimize detection time and maximize the salvo's arrival compression at the target. The missiles would be programmed to arrive at the Ford's position within a 90-second window. The arrival compression designed to saturate point defenses by presenting more simultaneous targets than any defensive system could engage sequentially. The Iranian planners who had helped design the attack believed this architecture gave the salvo the best chance of achieving at least one or two impacts through a defensive net that they had assessed, based on their study of previous American intercept operations in the Red Sea, as capable of handling 12 to 16 simultaneous inbound threats with high reliability, but potentially degraded against 20 or more. The assessment was not irrational. It was based on genuine analytical effort applied to observable data. What it lacked was visibility into two things: the specific SM-6 and ESSM Block 2 inventory levels aboard the Ford's strike group on the day of the attack, and the specific capability enhancements to the cooperative engagement architecture that had been fielded in the 2 years before this deployment. Enhancements that significantly increased the formation's simultaneous engagement capacity beyond what the Iranian assessment model had assumed. At 5:41 p.m., 17 minutes before this story's opening moment, the E-2D crew conducting the Northern Sector patrol had registered the first indication. Not the missiles. The missiles had not yet launched. What the E-2D's Electronic Intelligence Collection Suite registered was a sharp increase in encrypted communications traffic from known Houthi military communications nodes in 3 separate provinces simultaneously. The traffic pattern, multiple sites, simultaneous activation, the specific encryption signature associated with Houthi missile force coordination, matched the pre-launch communications pattern that American signals intelligence had cataloged from previous Houthi ballistic and cruise missile attacks. The E-2D crew flagged it at 5:42 p.m. as probable launch preparation activity across multiple sites and pushed the assessment to the CTF-153 Operations Center and to the Ford's strike group on the Tactical Coordination Net. The Ford's strike group went to heightened readiness posture at 5:44 p.m. Every Aegis system in the formation went to full active search. Every VLS cell status was confirmed. The second E-2D, which had been on deck completing its pre-launch inspection, was pushed to immediate launch. It was airborne at 5:52 p.m., climbing to its orbit altitude south of the formation. By 5:58 p.m., the moment this story begins, the strike group had 2 E-2D Advanced Hawkeyes airborne, every Aegis radar in full active mode, and a cooperative engagement picture that fused the sensor outputs of USS Gerald R, Ford's dual-band radar, USS Leyte Gulf's AN/SPY-1B, and 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers SPY-1DV systems into a single unified air picture covering a sphere of airspace 300 nautical miles in every direction from the formation center. The Houthis launched at 6:03 p.m. All 6 sites fired within a 47-second window, the tightest launch coordination that the Houthi missile force had ever achieved, the product of Iranian technical guidance on launch sequencing and timing discipline. 24 Quds-2 cruise missiles, their turbojet motors igniting in the 6 locations across 3 Yemeni provinces, climbing from their launch vehicles and turning onto their programmed approach bearings toward the Gulf of Aden. The missiles flew the initial transit phase at 80 meters altitude, terrain following where the Yemeni coastal geography provided masking, transitioning to open water cruise at the coastline and continuing south at 180 kilometers per hour on their GPS-guided approach tracks. The northern E-2D acquired the first contacts at 6:04 p.m., 1 minute after launch. the missiles clearing the Yemeni coastal terrain and entering the open water regime where their radar cross-sections, small but non-zero, became visible to a radar looking down from 24,000 feet with the AN/APY-9's full sensitivity. The contact count built rapidly. 4 contacts, then 8, then 14. Then the full 24 as the last of the launch site's missiles cleared their terrain masking and entered the E-2D's unobstructed line of sight. The complete picture, 24 Quds-2 missiles, their individual positions, bearings, speeds, and projected impact times, was on Link 16 and in every CIC in the strike group within 11 seconds of the E-2D acquiring the first contact. 24 inbound cruise missiles. Range at first detection, 190 nautical miles from the forward's position. At 180 kilometers per hour, that translated to approximately 63 minutes of engagement time. Against 24 targets simultaneously tracked and assigned by a cooperative Aegis network, backed by 2 elevated radar systems, 63 minutes was not a tactical problem. It was an administrative one. The specific administrative work of allocating the right interceptors from the right ships to achieve coverage of every inbound track with appropriate probability of engagement success. A calculation that the Aegis system performed in 2.3 seconds and presented to the formation's TAOs as a color-coded firing schedule that left no track unassigned and no coverage gap. USS Leyte Gulf fired first at 6:11 p.m. as the inbound formation reached the outer boundary of the SM-2 Block 3B engagement envelope. The SM-2S climbed from their VLS cells and leveled into Seaskim and intercept profiles. Their semi-active radar seekers guided by the Leyte Gulf's illumination radars toward the assigned Quds 2 tracks in the formation's northern arc. Simultaneously, USS Stout, DDG-55, engaged the eastern arc from her screen position. USS Bulkeley, DDG-84, took the western arc. USS Mason, DDG-87, which had been repositioned 18 nautical miles south of the formation center as an interdefensive picket, specifically for this watch period, engaged the targets in the southern approach sector. The Quds 2 is a small missile. Its radar cross-section, comparable to a large bird, as the Iranian engineers designed it, is challenging for surface-based radar systems tracking it at low altitude against sea clutter returns. Against the E-2D's look-down radar geometry from 24,000 feet, the sea clutter problem largely disappears, and the Quds 2's radar return is clear and trackable. This is the fundamental asymmetry of airborne early warning against sea-skimming cruise missiles, and it is why the E-2D's role in this engagement was not supporting. It was decisive. Without the E-2D's elevated picture, the Quds 2S would have been inside 20 nautical miles of the formation before surface radar could establish reliable tracks. With the E-2D's picture, they had been tracked from 190 nautical miles and had been in continuous high-quality track ever since. Let's examine what 24 Quds 2 missiles look like on the cooperative engagement display of a carrier strike group that has been tracking them for 63 minutes. Because the picture tells a specific story about the nature of the Houthi strategic error. The 24 missiles, despite their simultaneous launch and the Iranian planners' careful attention to arrival timing, had not maintained perfect formation cohesion over 190 nautical miles of Gulf of Aden transit. Wind variation at 80 meters altitude, minor GPS position errors accumulated over the transit time, and the different terrain profiles at the 6 launch sites had introduced a spread in the missiles' projected arrival times that stretched from 68 seconds at the narrow end to 4 minutes and 12 seconds when accounting for the full formation. The 90-second arrival window that the Iranian planners had targeted had expanded to over 4 minutes by the time the missiles were 50 nautical miles from the strike group. 4 minutes in an Aegis cooperative engagement is an eternity. It is the difference between a saturation problem and a sequential engagement problem. Sequential engagements are what Aegis was built for. The first SM-2 intercepts occurred at 6:18 p.m. at 44 nautical miles from the formation center. Clean kills, the Quds-2's small radar cross-section made no difference to an SM-2 guided by the E-2D's track data and the illuminating radar's full power. Second intercept cluster at 6:19 p.m. 4 more Quds-2S neutralized at 38 to 41 nautical miles. The cooperative engagement architecture was working through the inbound formation in the outer layer with the methodical efficiency of a system that had been designed specifically for sustained multi-target engagement. Not the sprint performance of handling a brief salvo, but the marathon performance of prosecuting 24 targets over a 60-minute engagement window with consistent, reliable intercept solutions. By 6:31 p.m., 17 of the 24 Quds-2 missiles had been neutralized in the outer and middle defensive layers by SM-2 and SM-6, intercepts at ranges between 44 and 22 nautical miles from the forward's position. 7 remained in the inner defensive layer inside 20 nautical miles and closing. The engagement shifted character. From the long-range missile intercept problem to the faster, more intense inner layer battle where the ESSM Block 2 and the Phalanx CIWS carried the defensive load. USS Mason's ESSM Block 2 batteries engaged 4 of the remaining 7 at ranges between 18 and 12 nautical miles. The ESSM Block 2's active radar seeker and quad-pack VLS storage had been specifically designed for exactly this engagement geometry. Multiple simultaneous small targets in the inner defensive zone, arriving faster than a single engagement sequence can handle, requiring parallel prosecution. 4 missiles quad-packed in a single VLS cell meant Mason's relatively small magazine could engage 4 targets simultaneously from a single cell's worth of inventory. 4 intercepts. 4 Quds-2S neutralized between 18 and 12 nautical miles. 3 missiles remained inside 12 nautical miles. The Ford's own Phalanx CIWS and the Roland Airframe Missile Short-Range Air Defense System engaged the remaining 3. The RAM, the RIM 116 Roland Airframe Missile, is a passive infrared and radar-guided short-range interceptor that the Ford carried in 2 launchers, 1 forward, 1 aft, specifically as a last resort inner-layer defense against exactly this type of threat. The ram's passive infrared seeker homes on the heat signature of the target missile's engine exhaust without emitting any radar signal, making it immune to the kind of electronic jamming that can complicate active radar guidance systems. 2 Quds-2S were engaged by RAM at 6 and 4.4 nautical miles. Both were neutralized. The third, a missile that had been flying a slightly lower approach profile than the others, was acquired by the Ford's forward Phalanx CIWS at 1.9 nautical miles. The 20mm cannon engaged for 1.4 seconds. The Quds-2 ceased to exist as a coherent object at 1.9 nautical miles from the Ford's bow, its fragments falling into the Gulf of Aden in a debris pattern that no piece of the formation would sail through. 24 Quds-2 cruise missiles. 24 neutralized. 0 impacts on any vessel in Carrier Strike Group 12. The Ford's flight deck, which had suspended launch and recovery operations during the engagement's inner layer phase as a standard precaution, resumed flight operations at 6:44 p.m., 10 minutes after the last Houthis was neutralized. The scheduled evening strike package was 13 minutes late departing. That was the operational impact of 24 cruise missiles, a 13-minute scheduled delay. Let's be precise about what that 13 minutes represents strategically, because it is the most important number in the entire engagement. The Houthi leadership had promised, repeatedly and publicly, that their missile campaign would force American carriers out of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden, that the strikes would impose costs on American operations severe enough to change U.S. policy, and that Iranian-supplied weapons would demonstrate that the era of American naval dominance in the region was ending. The Iranian advisors who helped design the 24-missile salvo believed they were providing a capability that could achieve at least partial mission success. At minimum, the demonstration of a hit on a Ford-class carrier would have been a propaganda achievement of historic proportions. 24 missiles, maximum launch coordination, best available weapons, Iranian technical guidance applied to the targeting and timing, and the result was a 13-minute delay in the evening strike package. The Ford's commanding officer noted the engagement in the ship's log. He authorized a commendation for the TAOs and Aegis operators across the formation whose performance had been, by any objective assessment, excellent. He reviewed the VLS expenditure summary. Within planned parameters, resupply from the Combat Logistics Force scheduled for 48 hours hence, and returned to the strike planning session that the engagement had briefly interrupted. The evening's strike aircraft launched at 7:07 p.m., 13 minutes late, on missions that continued the systematic prosecution of Houthi military infrastructure that had been the strike group's purpose for 37 days and would continue to be its purpose until the deployment ended. The after-action analysis of the Quds II salvo produced several assessments that the relevant commands found informative. The arrival timing dispersion, the expansion of the intended 90-second window to 4 minutes and 12 seconds over the transit distance, was assessed as a fundamental limitation of the Quds II's navigation system rather than an execution error by the Houthi launch crews. GPS-guided cruise missiles accumulate position error over long transits in ways that cannot be fully compensated by the terminal optical scene correlation that the Quds II uses for final aim point refinement. The optical correction happens too late in the flight to repair timing dispersion caused by navigation error accumulated over 190 nautical miles of transit. The Iranian engineers who designed the Quds II's guidance system understood this limitation. The Iranian planners who designed the salvo architecture had apparently assigned it less weight than the post-engagement analysis suggested it deserved. The second assessment concerned the Quds II's radar cross-section performance against the E-2D's look-down geometry. The missile's small RCS, a genuine engineering achievement that the Iranian aerospace industry had worked hard to produce, provided meaningful protection against surface-based radar detection at low altitude. Against the E-2D at 24,000 feet, it provided essentially no protection. The look-down geometry eliminates the sea clutter problem that makes low-altitude cruise missiles difficult for surface radar to detect. And the AN/A PY9's sensitivity in the low cross-section target detection mode was sufficient to acquire and track the Quds II at ranges that made the small RCS tactically irrelevant. Building a small missile to defeat surface radar in a theater where the defending force has continuous airborne early warning coverage is the tactical equivalent of digging a tunnel under a wall that the defender can see over. In Sana'a, the Houthi military spokesman announced the operation as a historic strike against the American aggressor. He stated that dozens of missiles had penetrated American defenses and struck the carrier. He offered no imagery, no damage assessment, no evidence of the claim in any verifiable form. Because the Ford was operating normally, her flight deck active, her air wing flying, her crew at their stations with nothing to show for 24 Iranian-supplied missiles, except a resupply requisition that would be filled in 48 hours. Iranian state media amplified the announcement. International shipping companies with vessels in the Gulf of Aden noted the U.S. Navy's response and the Ford's continued operations, and the war risk premium for straight transit, after a brief spike on fragmentary initial reports, returned to near baseline levels within 24 hours as the Ford's operational continuity became apparent. The Gerald R. Ford is the most advanced aircraft carrier ever built. She operates in the Gulf of Aden because American defense policy holds that the free movement of international commerce through these waters is a national interest worth defending with the full capability of American naval power. 24 missiles tried to change that calculation. They failed to change it by the specific margin of 13 minutes, and the 13 minutes recovered before the sun finished setting over the Djiboutian coast. The Quds, too, will fly again. The Houthis will launch again. The Iranian advisors will revise their salvo architecture, adjust their timing models, and plan the next attempt. The E-2D will be there. The SM-6 will be loaded. The Aegis systems will be active. And the Ford, or whichever carrier succeeds her in this operating area, will continue flying her scheduled strike packages with the specific uninterruptibility of a force that has been built for exactly this competition and has demonstrated definitively and in live operational conditions that it wins it. 13 minutes. That is all they got. The Gulf of Aden stays open. Bye for now.